Why did Jin suddenly warn Taehyung in a tone no one had ever heard before? And why did Jungkook stand frozen, unable to believe what was unfolding right in front of him? Was this a protective move, a quiet threat, or the beginning of an emotional fracture inside BTS? Like this article, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe right now, because what you are about to read is not just surprising, it is tense, emotional, and deeply unsettling. And once you enter this story, you will not see BTS the same way again. What happens when the calmest voice in the room suddenly carries a warning instead of reassurance? What does it mean when Jin, the one known for humor and emotional balance, looks directly at Taehyung and says words that instantly change the atmosphere? Words so heavy that Jungkook can only stare in disbelief, unable to process what he is witnessing. The phrase spread rapidly, charged with tension and disbelief. Jin membrangakan Taehyung. Jungkook tak bisa percaya ini yang terjadi. At first, many assumed it was exaggerated, another dramatic headline designed to provoke reaction. But the more people listened, the more unsettling it became. This was not playful. This was not joking. This was Jin drawing a line. The moment did not begin loudly. In fact, it began with restraint. Jin's expression was composed, but his eyes carried something sharper than usual. Taehyung noticed it immediately. So did Jungkook. The energy shifted before a single word was spoken, the kind of shift that makes everyone in the room instinctively go quiet. Jin spoke calmly, but the message underneath was unmistakable. It was a warning, not harsh, not aggressive, but firm. The kind of warning that comes from someone who has endured too much in silence and has finally decided that something must not go any further. Taehyung, usually confident and emotionally expressive, paused. That alone was shocking. Taehyung rarely hesitates when speaking from the heart, yet in this moment, he stopped himself. Why would Jin warn Taehyung? That question struck Jungkook instantly, and his reaction revealed just how serious the situation was. Jungkook's eyes widened slightly, his body stiffening as he tried to understand what line had been crossed and why Jin felt the need to step in. Jungkook is deeply sensitive to emotional shifts, especially within BTS. For him to look stunned meant this was not normal tension. It was something deeper, something unresolved. Jin's warning was not about control. It was about protection. Protection of boundaries that had been quietly ignored. Protection of emotions that had been exposed too many times without acknowledgement. And perhaps most importantly, protection of a balance that was beginning to crack. Taehyung listened. He did not argue. He did not laugh it off. His silence spoke volumes. He understood immediately that Jin was not speaking lightly. Whatever Jin was addressing had been building for a long time, and this was the first time it had surfaced so clearly. Jungkook watched the exchange, his disbelief growing with every second. This was not the Jin he was used to, the one who diffused tension, who turned discomfort into laughter. This Jin was serious, measured, and resolute. For Jungkook, that realization was jarring. It suggested that something had gone on beneath the surface long enough to require intervention. The aftermath was quiet but heavy. No one stormed out. No voices were raised. And yet, the emotional weight lingered far longer than any argument ever could. Taehyung appeared thoughtful, almost shaken, as if replaying Jin's words in his mind. Jungkook remained silent, his disbelief slowly turning into concern. Army would later sense this shift without being told. Interactions felt more careful. Jin's presence carried authority mixed with vulnerability. Taehyung became more reserved, choosing observation over expression. Jungkook hovered between them emotionally, trying to understand both sides without fully grasping what had triggered the warning in the first place. Was Jin drawing a boundary that had long been overdue? Was he protecting himself? Or was he protecting Taehyung from going too far into something neither of them was ready to confront? And why did Jungkook's reaction suggest that this moment revealed more than it explained? What made this situation so intense was not what was said, but what was implied. Jin's warning hinted at unspoken emotions, at lines blurred by closeness and shared history, at moments that may have felt harmless until they suddenly weren't. For someone like Jin, who values harmony above all else, issuing a warning meant the stakes were already high. Jungkook's disbelief came from realizing that even within a bond as strong as BTS, there are limits that must be respected. Seeing Jin assert that truth was both shocking and sobering. It challenged the comforting idea that love and closeness alone are enough to hold everything together. And yet, beneath the tension, there was care. Jin did not warn Taehyung to push him away, but to prevent something from breaking. That distinction matters. It reveals a depth of responsibility and emotional awareness that often goes unnoticed. This was not a dramatic confrontation meant for public consumption. It was a private reckoning, one that exposed how deeply the members care for one another and how fragile that care can become when emotions remain unspoken for too long. Ask yourself this. What kind of pressure forces Jin to speak this way? What kind of moment leaves Jungkook unable to hide his shock? And what does it say about Taehyung that he listened without resistance? This story is not about conflict. It is about boundaries, vulnerability, and the courage to protect what matters before it's too late. If this moment moved you, confused you, or made you reflect on the unseen sides of BTS, leave a comment, like this article, and subscribe. Because the quiet moments, the warnings, the pauses, the looks, are often where the real story begins. He tried to act normal, to return to his familiar rhythm, but the warning replayed in his mind with unsettling clarity. Jin had not raised his voice. He had not accused or blamed. That was precisely why it cut so deeply. Jin's calm carried finality, the kind that suggests long consideration rather than impulse. Taehyung realized, perhaps for the first time, that whatever Jin was protecting had been fragile long before that moment. Jungkook, on the other hand, could not let it go at all. He watched Jin closely in the hours and days that followed, searching for signs, fatigue, regret, hesitation, but Jin offered none. Instead, Jin became more deliberate, more controlled. It was as if issuing the warning had forced him into a role he had avoided for years, the one who speaks up before things go too far. That realization unsettled Jungkook deeply. He had always seen Jin as the emotional buffer, the one who absorbs tension so others don't have to. Seeing Jin draw a boundary so clearly shattered that image. It meant something had crossed a threshold. And if Jungkook was honest with himself, he knew Jin would never have spoken unless the stakes were already high. The three of them continued working together, but something fundamental had shifted beneath the surface. Conversations became more careful, more intentional. Taehyung chose his words with precision, no longer leaning into emotional spontaneity the way he once had. Jin responded warmly, but with distance, a measured closeness that signaled safety without invitation. Jungkook noticed everything. He noticed how Taehyung sometimes stopped himself mid-sentence. He noticed how Jin redirected conversation subtly, steering them away from anything too personal. And he noticed the quiet tension that formed whenever the three of them were alone together, a tension built not on conflict, but on restraint. Army sensed it too.